So we're coming to the third factor of enlightenment, which is energy. Simple doesn't mean it's not stressful, because the Buddha stressed a lot of energy. Because you want to raise the level of consciousness, you need a lot of energy. But that's not just energy, it's a more refined form of energy. We start with the beginning. Interesting enough, the suttas, when you talk of energy, they include physical energy. Mental and physical energy is not exactly the same. One is rupa, one is nama, but there are similarities in making you work. I always say mind over matter. Easier said than done. In most cases, people are still influenced by the state of the body. For example, young people, they have more physical energy. Sometimes I see these young people, how they go around without any rest. Then I know I'm getting very old. Today I went to Lodi. After lunch I came back, but I came back around 2. I slept until 5. It was good. So when you come to striving, you need a lot of physical energy as well. There was a time where I meditate. I don't have to sleep one night, and then I slept the last night, and I continue whole night the next night. That was the best time I had my meditation. When you're young, you can hop on the strong shoulders of youth. When you have old, you have to hang on to the experience of the old bones. But when you're experienced enough and you're old age, the mind has a certain power to overcome this bodily weakness. So that when you're finally on the bed and gasping for breath, you can still be mindful. Gasping. Yeah? You watch the mind. Yeah? When you watch the mind, the body doesn't affect you so much. It's coming. You're too much in the future. Be present. It's the ultimate test of life. So when you get older, it's always good to practice moderation. Like for example, if you're weak and sick, you try your best when, for example, when the body has more strength, like in the morning. And in the afternoon, when you're more difficult, then you take it easy, but you maintain some degree of awareness. But definitely some degree of balance of postures is important. To do some walking, do some exercise. I'm out of exercise. I must practice my Shaolin Kung Fu so that when I'm 90 years old, I can still jump and kick. These oldest monks, 70 years, nearly 80, they're dragging the feet. What a pity. The days, I don't know about in Shaolin, even the most senior abbot, 90 to 100 years old, the beard touching the floor, when they fight, they still jump. So the biggest battle are with those two with the longest white beard. Well, when you come to meditation, you also make energy a part of your mindfulness. As we said, there are this mindfulness which is ordinary mindfulness and the mindfulness in meditation. Because ordinary energy is there. Some people have so much energy to do so many things. For example, in the earlier days where I stay in the Thai villages, every time you go to the new Thai village, you have to sit and talk. This is protocol and etiquette. It's about the most boring things, but you have to go through that. And these people can talk for hours. But when you sit meditation, half an hour, they cannot stand. Different types, because in meditation you're more involved with more precise objects, precise motivation. For example, in a talk by Sayadaw Pandita, he talks about energy. There's a beginning part, there's a middle part, and there's an ending part. And he always call it heroic energy, heroic effort. And so when you come here to meditate, you're all heroes. But when you run to bed and sleep, you're no longer a hero. Well, you can be a hero all the time. And as the saying goes, rabbit runs away to fight again, come back to fight. That's why he can end up as an old rabbit. You know the expression, old rabbit? This is a Swiss expression, German expression. You say, yeah, German. Because old German rabbits are very hard teeth. When they bite you, they won't let go. It's okay. Oh, heroic effort. Yes, I was talking about it. And so when you talk about the beginning is always difficult because you're still small and you're still weak. But You have got to start somewhere. When people come and meditate, they see other people walking slow. They try to walk slow, they get headache. When people sit for 1 hour, half an hour, you want to die. But no, 1 hour is nothing. Yeah? So what you need is some motivation, something to start the fire going. When you start a fire, you start small. So there are certain ways recommended to arouse the energy. In short, one of them is first to give you some inspiration. For example, you think of the benefits you can get from the practice. And of course, no benefits come without some hard work. Firstly, you think of this, all the benefits of mindfulness. It's not so difficult to produce mindfulness. You just keep telling your mind to be clear, peaceful, calm, and then you get some mindfulness. And then when you have to get more mindfulness, then of course you have to maintain some degree of continuity. It's not easy. Because you think you want to maintain continuity in a retreat, it's much easier to maintain than in daily life. And so in this way you keep encouraging yourself to practice, and if you have mindfulness and your continuity, then you will see results. Sometimes you sit and the mind doesn't work. Why I try so hard, no mindfulness, my mind is everywhere. Well, you tell yourself, well, at least I must have 1 or 2 minutes or seconds of peace. You just sit and be peace, be happy. Wow. And when you from 1 second, you have 2 seconds. Then other than that, you can look for inspiration from people who practice and people who that are doing well. This can be called Sangha, the community of practitioners. And at least you can open your eyes and look around. You can open your eyes and look around at the people. He's sitting so quiet, he doesn't move. Of course, you don't know what's in his mind. But at least he's not moving and you are moving. So maybe there are a few model yogis around. You can look at Piero, for example. Piero is sitting at the back, so you see somebody in front. For example, Manfred, this Hank, you see Martin. Martin always there. Sometimes he's cooking. At least you see somebody around. You can get inspired. When you're walking, you feel lazy, you see other people. Oh, he's walking so slowly. Then you also walk very slowly. If you know somebody who is meditating very well before, you can think of the person. For example, if I think of Mahasi those days, it can be very inspiring. For example, I think of Mahasi, he's very straight. His posture is a straight perpendicular line. When he walks, he's perpendicular. When he looks at you, he looks through your skull. When he doesn't look at you, he's relaxed. He doesn't care anything in the world. So when I think of Sayadaw Pandita, I think of her, the big tractor that rolls on you. So you talk to him, he rolls on you. And he finds that you have too much pride, he will hammer you until you become pancake. It's very inspiring. And of course you get inspiration from the Dhamma. That's one reason why the Dhamma talks are given. Otherwise, if you have no Dhamma talks, and then so you have some good books to inspire you. Generally we don't recommend reading, but in cases of desperate, for example, Czech Republic, during the walking meditation, this lady was writing and writing and writing. I said, why are you writing? I'm writing about my meditation. I said, go meditate, throw away your book. But no, outside the retreat, you need to fill in your theory, help in your practice. For example, when you meet with certain difficulties in your meditation, certain of these things you have read would come out to help you. And of course, there's this recollection of this devotional practices which you all may not be so used to. For example, you go to a temple in Asia, everywhere you turn is a Buddha. You look at the wall, all Buddhas, Buddhas, Buddhas. Look at the top of the roof, there are Buddhas, Buddhas, all Buddhas. They call it a temple of 10,000 Buddhas. Even in Burma, they have a lot of this Dhammacakka, Dhamma wheels. So you go, you carry a pill. Oh, there's a Dhammacakka in there. Go to the toilet, oh, there's a Dhammacakka. Everywhere you turn, there's a Dhammacakka. No escape. So for people, for many Asians, it's very inspiring. They get a lot of faith. You remind them to practice. But in places of practice, there are not so many. Usually there's one Buddha, main shrine hall. This is too small. If there's one which is the size from here to the roof, it's more like it. big one. But there won't be any place to meditate. But in the case of actual practice, it's helpful for the practice of Buddhanusati, Dhammanusati, Sanghanusati, the recollection of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. For example, when you feel a bit down, so you just recite, Itipiso Bhagava Arang Samma Sambuddho Vijaya Charana Sambhano, and after a while, you're good, well again. Feel good, practice again. Because there's this type of recollection gives you a lot of joy, and the joy will give rise to the energy. The other part is where you frighten yourself a bit. This is more of you don't call it fear, you call it a sense of urgency. For example, the thinking of birth, death, old age, and disease, and hunger, poverty, everything, all those horrible things in life, then of course then you may be motivated. For example, a monk meditated in a cave. When he was hungry, then he think of being a hungry ghost. And when he's a lot of itch and pain and all over the body, then you think of it as an animal. You see animal, dog, scratch here, bite here. So you can start thinking, what happens when you go to the hell regions and so on, then you'll be inspired. Because when you're cold, you think of the cold hell. Cold hell is all the beings cannot move their jaws in the ice. By the way, it has been mentioned in the Dante's Divine Comedy. Then of course there's a hot hell, so you stay there and, for example, there's a cauldron and they boil. Go around in the collection. It's not a small one, a huge one, millions of beings inside. Think how many million years to come out to the surface for one while. It goes then it go down. According to the story, this king was sleeping, suddenly he heard a big shout, he didn't know what was it. So he went to ask the Buddha. The Buddha said, he was a past relative in the hell. He just came out for one moment and he shouted and he went back. So this one way to inspire you, especially when you grow older, you don't know when you can do walking meditation again. Then of course you see people around you one by one dropping off, and if they have not died yet, this fellow got cancer. So before it strikes you, you better make best use of the time. Sometimes you think a bit of this is helpful to inspire you to meditate. Then when you talk of the continuity can be quite frightening. Because it's not easy to be continuous. Until when? You ask a question, continuous until when? Until the noblest fruits of all has been won. The unshakable deliverance of mind. Akupa Cita Vimutti. That is the fruition of the Arahant. And for a long time now. So, but just let it be there. When the time comes, it comes. But no time is a concept. Even let's say you come for 3 weeks, it's a long time. After many 3 weeks, non-basta. Enough. You need to have 6 weeks. Non-basta. In Asia, respectable retreat is 3 months. You tell it to the meditation teacher in Burma, say, tell me 1 month, say, well, better than nothing. You tell him 1 year, not bad. So you think it is what? But too terrible. I'm going to meditate, sit, walk for 1 year. Horror of horrors. But no time's a concept. After a while, time flies. So it's not so bad. And for a lot of people to get some significant progress, you need some time. If you're in 3 weeks and you see some progress, it's pretty good. That is if you are not a beginner. Beginner, 1 week you have to get some progress, otherwise you give up. The idea is you keep going and be patient. You must use some clear comprehension. When you're really tired, take it easy. Here is not Burma. In Burma, they catch you lie on the bed. They say, "What? You're tired? You can go home and rest." But here, you are here and you don't run away, we're happy. Because if you keep practicing, at least you get to keep practicing longer. As they say, quantity before quality. So you adjust yourself. The idea is to be happy practicing. If you're not happy, then don't be unhappy. There's certain, bad tricks. You always bring some chocolates. Some people resort to more things by bratwurst, and so it's not such a big evil. But better not call home. You call your friend and say, "Oh, amore, mi manca. Miss, my dear, we miss you." Finish. So, there are still many things to be happy about life. In the actual practice, it's the balance of faculties. Because when you have too much energy, you get stressed, then you don't feel good. You relax too much, you start becoming bored and sleepy. If you are balanced, then you are sailing on moonlight bay. So when you're sailing for some time, then the faculties pick up. Sooner or later, you learn more things. At this point, the concept of progress plays a part. For example, okay, now I've got the first insight knowledge. I've got 2 more days. And still get the second insight knowledge. It's called encouragement. The trouble is this type of judgment is not so easy because what insight knowledges are, can be explained differently. First thing, of course, that you've learned something more. This comes with new experiences. You know how to handle those new experiences, then okay. If you don't know, then you better learn to handle. Then you know your mind is getting better. Your 5 faculties, the energy, concentration, insight, all those getting better. So it also refers to the last part of the energy striving. This last part firstly could mean the last part of your sitting, last part of your retreat. Because after just before 1 hour, it's almost 1 hour. And when you're about last day of retreat, you must relax first. And then you start thinking of work. So you try to be mindful until the last minute. And of course, in the long run, you think of your last hour. So until the last minute, last second. That's even more important. And of course, we say we strive until you reach the holy path. From my experience, people who meditate continuously and they don't give up, in the long run, they do reach somewhere. So in meditation, on and off, you do have to wash your energy. When there's no energy, then there's no goal. But the energy has to be the right effort. That means it has to come with the right mindfulness. For example, in the beginning, but push in effort, they may not be mindfulness, so it may be wrong effort. So they end up with stress. So when you practice more and you can go on, then you look at the effort in terms of your right effort, but it is not so balanced. So you have to balance it with tranquility. When you go into a more experienced, deeper level, mindfulness, the energy is usually automatic. The balance is still there, but it is more fine. So it's more like maintaining the energy in terms of maintaining equanimity. Because once you interfere with it, then it becomes upset. In such cases, people usually end up sitting longer. Because the horse is happily going on its way, there's no need to stop it. So there's something about energy. Then of course the next one is joy. It is also interesting to take note that this joy is part of an enlightenment factor. The Pali word is piti, which is a mental state that is connected with joyful feeling. It is connected with the mind being, we call it filled up, open and filled up. Just like, you're joyful, you don't need to eat. When you feel a balloon, it floats up. When feelings are like that, they're light and they're open. And so it's nice feelings. But it is usually also, there's some degree of movement and activity. So when you talk of piti, it can be the more active form and the more peaceful form, because it tends to give rise to joyful and happy feelings. There's a tendency of people to get attached to it. This piti and joyful feeling is present in ordinary life, and in sensual societies there's lots of them. And this gives rise to sense attachments, kama chanda, in the way the world needs it. Otherwise they'll be having anger instead, and they start fighting. For example, in the old Confucian philosophy, king will know how to feed his subjects well so that they will not rebel. Because they are so busy eating, When they're eating, they're busy making babies. There are so many babies, they're too busy feeding the babies and protecting the babies. If they cannot feed the babies, and they start the rebellion. That's the way of the world. People are never satisfied. So there has to be more than just sensual pleasures. There must be some proper etiquette. So when you come for meditation, surely this should not be stopping you. But this piti is neutral. It can be unwholesome, it can be wholesome, depending on the associated states. So in vipassana or meditation, it's with wholesome states and with mindfulness. If you are in samatha, then joy becomes a jananga, a jhana factor. In vipassana, it becomes a vipassana sambojjhanga, yeah? Vipassana factor. So it is able to make use of it to help in your practice. It also can be made use of it as an object of meditation. I think we'll stop here tonight.